G'day, welcome to Does It Matter? This is Kareem again. Today I want to talk a short video, but one that I've gone on about before in terms of cancel culture. I was perusing through Twitter. Yes, I know it's always a risk. It can be somewhat of a toxic shithole from both political directions and general human fuckery. But I saw a tweet by Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. Sometimes she says some pretty ripe, silly things. Sometimes she says some really smart things. She's an intelligent person. She's very young though, and somewhat enamored of the far left. I'm a lefty too, but I'm not a far lefty at all. And I'm probably more akin to a centrist, a centre-left person nowadays. As I've gotten older, you get a little wiser about certain things, recognizing that there's a need for balance. And I like some of her quotes, and I'm not as much as I'm not at all an SJW. I do advance certain progressive ideas, and certain social justice issues are important to me. So I listen to her. I listen to everyone. I listen to lots of people, and she made a tweet that just freaked me out. The term cancel culture comes from entitlement, she says, as though the person complaining has the right to a large captive audience. And I'll just set it. I should have actually put it across for you. The term cancel culture comes from entitlement, as if the person complaining has a right to a large captive audience, and one is a victim if people choose to tune them out. Odds are that you're not actually cancelled, or you're just being challenged, held accountable, or unliked. I wish that were the truth. I do wish honestly that were the truth in every case, and it often isn't. More often than not, it isn't. Cancel culture has a particularly pernicious side to it, one that is rarely acknowledged by the people who practice it, which is the art of going after someone, not simply to debunk their ideas and to challenge them in the court of public opinion, which I have no problem with whatsoever, but to destroy them in every way that is physically possible, mentally, emotionally, reputationally possible. I can't go with that. That runs against my democratic inclinations, my social justice inclinations. It's just not right. There's some interesting tweets here by people. She talks about, people who have been denied their fair share, like Palestinian right advocates, abolitionists, and capitalists, so on and so on. Look, I don't have a problem with that. She seems to want to cherry pick the people who get cancelled and don't get cancelled, though, and I don't like that at all. Conservatives lost their jobs. There's some. Yeah, here's the good normal person. I disagree with what you said. Cancel culture. Let's see what your employer thinks about that. How is that right? How is that even remotely fair to do that? There's a quote here that's absolutely precious. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered. And the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Nothing exists except an endless present in which the party is always right. That comes from 1984 by George Orwell, one of the great novels describing very accurately the rise and the consolidation of a global dictatorship. The tendency within both the left and the right to engage in these kinds of cancel cultures, these kinds of homogenization by force of ideas at any cost. The ideological fanaticism frightens the living crap out of me. The term cancel culture describes losing your job and perhaps home, family and friends because you do not spew right think. Cancel culture affects us plebs even worse than people such as yourself and others in the public eye. If you weren't so entitled, you would know this. Classic comment. It was Cortez's part of the elite now. Maybe she always wasn't, but she is now, and she has been for quite some time. She's ensconced in the warm arms of the exceedingly rich and white Democratic Party, which I find ironic considering their dedication to some of the quotas and far left diversity policy. It's interesting. She doesn't seem to recognise her own privilege. She's busy pointing out other people's privilege, but not recognising her own. Yeah, there's some good quotes here, some good tweets back and forth. But the reality is that it's a one thing to criticise someone and lose an argument. This person says here, you know, if you yelled out, boycotted, or have your show cancelled or get banned from the internet, your free speech rights aren't being violated. It's just the people listening to you think you're an asshole and showing you the door. That's a simplification. It's a really, really good cherry-picking job. Okay? This is a redirection, says Nathan, and therefore a bad argument. The issue with cancel culture is that you're willing to jeopardize a person's employment because they said something that offended you. It's a culture of fear. Absolutely. Make people afraid to say what they think. It's one thing to fear being reprimanded in public. If you're afraid of that, well, you know, there's not much I can do for you because being a grown-up is part of that is facing approbation and disagreement from others. But to lose your job, to have fears for your safety, being doxxed, so people can come to your house, to your work, stalk your children. This is happening. This is happening. And it's happening from both sides of the political spectrum. It's disgraceful. Cancel culture is foul. And I don't care who does it, and I don't care why they do it. It's foul. Absolutely foul. And we should not engage in that kind of rhetoric, in that kind of strategy. It's immoral. It's wrong. Argue with people. Allow them to come out of the darkness. If they have reprehensible and foul ideas, we want to see those ideas. Do we push pus back into the body? Do we push the poison back in? Do we beat it out of the body? No, we don't do any of those stupid things. That would kill the patient. And that's precisely what the left and the right seek to do in their own respective issues. Bash, crush, coerce, force, until there's nothing left. The original audience, the original body electorate has been smashed into subservience. You win through arguments. You win through convincing people. You inspire people. You don't beat them into submission. And unfortunately, cancel culture, whether it's left or right, I don't care who's doing it, is precisely about shutting people down for speaking their mind. Words are not violence. Words are very dangerous. Lies spread can cause enormous damage. And I'm a big advocate of true speech. Don't lie at all. Tell the truth only. It's not that complicated. It's not easy to do. You'd be surprised how often you tell a little white lie every now and then. But it's enormously important. However, words have to be as free as possible. Outside the realm of direct lies, which we have ample defamation, libel and slander laws for in most countries, we need to be able to speak freely. Okay? Words are not violence. And if anyone disagrees with that, I suggest you get a friend to say the meanest thing they can to you, the nastiest thing they can to you, and then punch you really hard in the face. And then you decide which one is worse. I can tell you now what most of you are going to decide is worse. By far. Okay? They're not the same thing. Doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong, or one isn't hurtful and one is. It's a spectrum, a continuum. Life is on a continuum. Everything is on a continuum. Light fills a spectra, okay? Everything does. Particles, the very things that make us, the quantum particles that move up from gauge particles, from quantum to gauge particles to subatomic particles, right up to atoms. Everything is on a spectra. There's a range. Everything, our thoughts, everything, our ideas function along ranges. And once we lose that sense of proportion and proportionality, we become insane. It's a form of insanity. Let's not be insane. Let's be proportionate. Let's be reasonable. Let's consider the other point of view, even if we dislike it. Let's be open to hearing things we really don't like to hear, simply so that we can maintain a civil society, continue to debunk stupid ideas, dangerous ideas, and toxic ideas in an open forum where people are free to speak. You've got to suck the poison out. You've got to purge the poison out slowly without killing the body electorate, the body democratic that it comes from. Cheers, guys. Have a good day.